Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You are listening to My Kind of Country. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. Everyone on the airwaves out there listening tonight knows what a big George Jones fan I am, and I have been waiting for this album to come out for a while. It's brand new music, but yet it's not, and we're going to tell you all about it tonight. It's a fantastic project we've been waiting for. It's called George Jones: The Lost Nashville Sessions, and I can't think of a better person tonight to be on the line and talking about and telling us about this great project than Nancy Jones herself. Nancy, how are you tonight?
I am doing great, Scott. Thank you so much for asking. And I have to tell you, I am so excited about this Lost Nashville session. And, it'll be out November the 15th.
It's been a long time coming. I've known about this project for a while, and I've been patiently waiting to have it come out. And it's has not disappointed. I've had a chance to hear it. It does not disappoint, that is for sure.
No, I don't think it is, because you're going to hear some good country music, which George used to say, they can't get me no other way, because I ain't nothing but country.
I'm going to play every single song on this project tonight because I want everybody to be able to hear this and go out and pick up a copy of it. It's George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions, and we have the streaming link and ordering link posted on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country. And Country Rewind Records, our friend Thomas Gramuglia at that label, has put together this project. You can also go there and read more about it and pick up a copy there. There will be physical CDs available. Is this also going to be pressed on vinyl, Nancy? Do you know?
I don't know, but I wished it would. I'd love that.
Vinyl's made such a big comeback. It'd be so great to have it come out on vinyl, too.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to ask Thomas about that. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, they've done a few of those. I know they did, I think, the Waylon Jennings project, and they did the Conway Twitty project on vinyl. And so I think it would be fantastic to have this on vinyl, too, for sure.
I bet we get it. I bet we get it.
Folks, there are 16 songs on here, and these are going to be familiar to just about anybody who loves George Jones, but they're different versions. And Nancy, tell me the story behind these recordings.
Well, the album, which we know is called The Lost Nashville Session, and it does include 16 songs, and it was updated and produced by Paul Martin, which is Dwayne with the Oak Ridge Boys. That is his son-in-law. And what he did is he updated the tapes, bringing the audio quality up to what we call the 21st century. But what this was is these recordings were made for radio airplay only, with announcers' voices between the songs and blah, blah, blah. But then what happened was that they took, the announcers' voices and stuff out. And it's so great because it's not like you're going in the studio and you have to stop and you got to fix this and you got to fix that. What it was is George singing them straight out, and you could feel he was comfortable with it. And this is what makes this such an absolute wonderful album.
You had released early on as a single, The Honky Tonk Downstairs, and I love that song. It's one of my favorite George Jones songs, and I don't think it was ever a chart hit for him, but he had it on the album, Sings the Songs of Dallas Frazier. I've always loved the song, and I was so glad to hear that one.
Well, you know what? I listened to that when I got this, and I'm like, when you played this album, you're like, I remember that song, but I really don't remember what it meant. But once you hear it, you're like, oh, good gosh, I know what it meant now.
Oh, it's a great song. Was that a song that George really liked?
He did like that. And my favorite, I guess, on this is Walk Through This World With Me, because that was what he used to tell me, is just walk through this world with me and things will get better. And, it did. So I guess that's my favorite one on there.
I was real glad to hear the Grand Tour, too. That is one of my
gosh,
favorites.
Yes. I just think that the fans are going to love this because George was country music. I mean, the man, you could never change him. There was no way that you could get him to do anything but country, and that's why that he used to say, I don't understand somebody putting a song out and you can't understand what they're saying, but in his voice, you knew every word. You could sing along with it, and people really related to these songs.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of top hits on here. The Window Up Above, and I'll Share My World with You. The Grand Tours I mentioned. The Race is On. White Lightning. There's a great version of that. That was George's first #1 hit in 1959.
Right, right. Well, and mine, I love this one. It was A Love Bug. I love that song.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was cool to hear that. She Thinks I Still Care is on here, and my gosh, it's Picture Me Without You. Tender Years, She's Mine. Just, I mean, so many great songs. One I was real tickled to hear was Hey Good Lookin', too. He did a great job on that one.
Well, you know why he did a great job? Because that was his hero. He loved Hank Williams.
Oh, yeah. You got to love that.
And he just felt it. I mean, you know, even in these songs, all 16 of them, you can feel that George was enjoying this, not just in the studio and have to stop and start over, stop and start over. You can feel him so happy to do this.
Absolutely. And these were recorded in Nashville, I believe, at Scotty Moore's studio. Is that right?
Yes, it was at the, I think it was called the Music City Recorders in Nashville, yes.
And they're great. And these were recorded for a series of Armed Forces radio shows. These particular ones, I believe, were for Navy Hoedown back in the 1970s. And they would send these programs out to the radio stations, and they would be 15-minute segments. And like you said earlier, the announcer would talk over some of the songs, so you didn't quite get the whole song always. And it's really great to be able to hear these without any of that stuff in there. And like you said, with some music augmentation to make them just sound pristine, for sure.
That it did, and that was, like I said, that the Paul Martin, he really updated the tapes and did the audio quality up enough to get it up to the 21st century. So I just think the fans are going to love it.
They are going to love them, for sure. How did these tapes get found and rescued, and what was the process of getting them in shape to be able to get these recordings done?
Well, you know, after George died, I really did not know that these tapes were out there. And then Paul called me and told me that he had got a hold to them, and Thomas brought them to him, and he said, would you mind if I worked on this? Well, I forgot all about it. I mean, I was like, sure, anything you do, I'm not worried about it. So then when it came back and they were ready with it, I'm like, you know what? I had forgot about that, and now I am so excited to hear this. It's unreal. I can't wait.
Well, it's wonderful to have some new George Jones music, and yet it's familiar to everybody. But these, again, are versions that you've never heard before, and they sound fabulous. And you're right, George is just singing fantastic. And I've always loved hearing George in concert. I love listening to his concert recordings because, he never sang the song the same way twice, and it's so spontaneous to hear these recordings.
I used to laugh at him because I'd say, you don't even open your mouth. How do you sing?
Well, he didn't have to, man. He did it without any hesitation, and he's the best in the world. There's no doubt about that. I've always said George Jones is the greatest vocalist of all time of any genre of music as far as I'm concerned. And been a lifelong fan of George, and anything that comes out is just country music gold. And like you said, real country music, and that's what we play on My Kind of Country, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for listening to it and getting it out there. And I'm excited. I know the fans are I know they're going to love it. I mean, I think it's something that they've been waiting for a long time.
Absolutely. Now, there are some more of these recordings that I am aware of. He did some duets with Tammy. Are there plans to maybe get those out, too?
You know, I don't know, but I think that would be wonderful if they put that together. I mean, Lord God, who could sing any better than those two?
I've got some of the original shows, and they did We Go Together and Take Me and some of their big, great duets, and it would be fantastic to hear those back out again.
Well, I hope they do, because I'd be in line to get mine.
That's for sure. Well, speaking of getting in line to get yours, another thing you need to get is the wonderful book that Nancy wrote, about George. It's called Playing Possum, My Memories of George Jones. Nancy was on our show, and we did a feature on that, and it's a fabulous book. And Nancy, thank you for sending me a copy. I've read it 3 times, and every time I get to read it, I find out things I didn't know. And it's such a wonderfully written book.
Well, you can still get it at Amazon, and I tell you, I didn't hold back. I think it was something that the good Lord wanted me to put out there, and I hope that it helps a lot of people to understand how demons can get in you and how you have to get them out. And if you love someone enough that you're going to sit there and you're going to fight for them, and you're going to fight those demons. Like I said, I thought when I got 2 of them out, I was, oh man, I've really done good. But it ended up being more. And in this book, you will understand why I fought so hard for such a good man. Because when he was not being bad, he was absolutely wonderful. And I did get some good years with him.
Well, everybody loved George, and we all, we're all human. We all have issues, but everybody loved George, and he had a good soul and a good heart. And I have to tell you, he treated his fans so well. He was always, and you both were so gracious to me every time I had a chance to see you at the concerts, and I've just never forgotten that.
Well, nowadays, you wonder how these new artists treat the fans. I don't know, because I don't go to concerts or anything anymore, but I can tell you that George would always say, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my fans.
Well, these are just fabulous recordings, folks. You can go to Amazon.com is going to have this Country Rewind Records, and there's a link that you can go on there and stream. We'll put all that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country, and you can pick up a physical CD, and hopefully we'll get some vinyl coming pretty soon, too. That would be awesome.
I know. That's my next call. When I get through here, I'm calling them to see if they're going to do one.
Yeah, well, tell them they sold a bunch right off the bat, because I'll buy a whole bunch of them.
I'll tell them. Scott said to do it.
I love my vinyl, that's for sure. Nancy,
I do too.
In the digital age that we're in, I know there's a lot of George's stuff has been re-released, but there's still some stuff out there that just is not in print. Do you have plans to get some of this stuff back out there?
I do, because there is a lot of stuff that's still in the can that has never been released, and now that Paul Martin can really, get it up to date, I do want to go in and talk with record labels and get some of those that's in the can that they'll never do anything with, but I will if I can get my hands on them.
Well, that'll be fabulous. I know his fans will love that for sure. And let me ask you about the wonderful George Jones Museum. I was blessed I got to go and tour that. And are there plans to do anything like that again, or get that stuff into a museum?
I do have all the stuff, and I would love to get it in a museum for people to look at again. And it's just, it was a lot of work when I did that. And that's when I got COVID also, too. I'm glad I sold before I got COVID, but it was a job. I did everything. I love people. As soon as they come in the door, I couldn't wait to take them up to the second floor to see everything I had collected all of the years, and thought George was like, he always wanted to give that to Jamie Johnson, give that over here, give that to Vince. I'm like, no, I'm not giving that to nobody. Someday you're going to wish that I'd kept it and you could look at it. And, I did set up a little museum at our house in the basement, and he would go down there sometimes and say, I remember that, I remember that. So, yes, I do in the future hope I can find someone that would be interested in helping me get back together with that.
That would be fabulous. I was amazed at how much stuff you had there, and I know it must have been a chore to try to track some of this stuff down. I'm sure a lot of it got lost and misplaced throughout all the years, and it must have been quite a project to get that all back together again.
It definitely was.
Well, folks, again, we're going to play this entire album for you, and I'm going to talk about these songs as we go through them tonight. George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions. These were recorded in the 1970s for the Navy Hoedown radio shows, and they've been just absolutely brilliantly reproduced and brought up to date, and they sound so fabulous. And it's George Jones at his vocal best and some of his best material ever. Nancy, thank you so much for taking time to be on my show, and thank you so much for getting this music back out there to the fans.
You are welcome, Scott, and anytime I can do anything to keep George's legacy going or anything you know that I can do, you give me a call.
Well, all right, and the same goes for me, too. All right,
okay,
folks.
Okay, baby.
Sit back and listen to some great George Jones music as we continue with My Kind of Country and George Jones, the Lost Nashville Sessions. Take a listen to these.